Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is the place where we take the world's most compelling stories, whether they're hidden away in academic journals or being shouted from the top of the global charts, and we really drill down.
We get to the foundational knowledge. We try to explain the why behind all the noise.
And you, the learner, have given us a truly fantastic stack of research for today. We are tackling the incredible, often turbulent, and, well, right now, the globally dominant career of Miley Cyrus.
And this is so much more than just a pop music story. It's really an exceptional study in modern celebrity, how it's constructed.
Yeah.
Our mission today really is to analyze how an artist can navigate this massive corporate identity, this intense public scrutiny, and deep personal heartbreak, and then emerge.
Emerge as this symbol of self-reliance, and it's all anchored by this one single, the unprecedented commercial phenomenon of her 2023 song, Flowers.
And our sources today give us this really rare and crucial balance.
They really do. On one hand, we have this deep academic analysis, sources that use critical tools like queer theory and feminist critiques to really deconstruct her performances.
And on the other hand, we have the sheer hard data of her commercial performance. I mean, the record-breaking streaming numbers, the chart longevity, it's staggering.
So we're connecting the intellectual framework of celebrity agency with the quantifiable reality of commercial success.
Exactly. The goal here is to trace this spectacular evolution. I mean, how does the artist who spent her formative years defined by the Disney machine?
The ultimate corporate machine.
Right. How does she actively tear that image down, build a persona that purposefully shocked the establishment, and then transition again?
Into this mature global artist who can turn a messy, high-profile divorce into a universal anthem of independence.
That is the core conflict we have to resolve today.
The dichotomy is just so stark, and it really defines her whole biographical narrative. You have the wholesome, tightly controlled child star of Hannah Montana.
And then you have the boundary-pushing provocateur.
Epitomized by the Bangers era.
Yeah.
Swinging on a wrecking ball.
And our research makes it absolutely clear this wasn't just a celebrity going rogue. This was deliberate. It was calculated.
And it's still the central point of debate, right?
Yeah.
About her agency versus, corporate marketing strategy.
And that's where we have to start. If we really want to understand the success of Flowers, we have to go back to that break point. We need to unpack this idea of celebrity debranding and this conscious creation of the racier performer persona.
Okay, let's unpack this transformation because it was swift, it was loud, and professionally it was incredibly disruptive. She starts as the undisputed queen of the Disney Channel.
No question.
But she recognized early on that staying in that box was a career ceiling. So this active professional effort to just shred that corporate identity, it really starts in earnest around the 2013 Bangers album cycle.
What's so fascinating is how consciously she framed this break, not just to the media, but, you get the sense it was internal, too. She understood that to evolve, she couldn't just mature.
She had to destroy the old persona.
Destroy it. The sources are clear. This wasn't just natural growth. It was a professional necessity to establish a completely different public character, the one they label the racier performer.
And she knew controversy was a form of currency. She even reflected on it later in a 2023 interview, and this is such a key insight into her mindset. She said, "I was creating attention for myself because I was dividing myself from a character I had played."
Right. She was talking about being 20, 21, feeling like in the adult world she had, quote, more to prove. She needed to control the narrative of her own transition.
And this leads us right to the core theoretical concept of her whole mid-career agency.
Yes. She vehemently maintained ownership of those hyper-public, often shocking actions. Back in 2013, she said it outright. I know what I'm doing. I know I'm shocking.
So for her, the act of shocking, of deliberately upsetting social expectations, that was the empowerment.
It was a demonstration of it. The capacity for conscious, independent choice-making about her public character, her art, no matter how intensely the media scrutinized her, she was claiming the role of the woman who defines herself.
But this is where the academic sources come in and apply that critical lens, and it complicates that very neat narrative of, personal choice.
It does. Scholars analyzing her performances frequently use queer theory to deconstruct what she was actually doing on stage.
And how that was interacting with what society expects from young women in the spotlight.
The foundational concept we have to get our heads around here is Judith Butler's idea of performativity.
Okay.
It basically posits that gender, and by extension, socially acceptable sexual behavior, it's not some inherent trait we're born with. It's a social construct.
So is it something we learned?
It's enforced. Through the continuous, often unconscious repetition of expected behaviors, society expects women, particularly young women coming out of child stardom, to exhibit a very specific, very narrow range of qualities.
Timidity, purity, and unobtrusiveness.
Exactly those words.
So, if femininity is a kind of societal script of repeated, acceptable behaviors, then the Bangers era, Miley Cyrus, was deliberately taking that script, tearing it into tiny pieces, and improvising the complete opposite.
And doing it in the most public, televised way imaginable.
Yes.
Her performances, the overtly sexualized clothing, the aggressive dancing, the use of props like the foam finger or the sledgehammer, they weren't just about being provocative for the sake of it.
There were ruptures.
Deliberate ruptures in the expected performance of celebrity womanhood. She was explicitly rejecting the role of the highly profitable, highly controlled female idol. The whole point was to show that she, the individual, had the agency to define her own limits and her own sexuality.
But here's the central tension, the one that the sources just refuse to let us ignore. Was she truly acting autonomously, as a woman claiming her own self-definition?
Or was a shocking new persona just a highly effective, maybe even more profitable marketing strategy cooked up by a committee in a boardroom?
That's the perpetual dilemma, isn't it, for any pop star in that corporate system?
It is. Critics argue that regardless of what she believed internally about her own self-empowerment, the racier image was a meticulously crafted commercial product.
With two goals.
Two very clear goals. First, irrevocably sever all ties with the now unprofitable Hannah Montana brand. And second, instantly appeal to the lucrative adult demographic she needed to capture to have a long career.
And the fact that it resulted in record-breaking attention suggests the corporate machine benefited massively from her so-called rebellion.
That tension between true artistic agency, her Leben, her life as a woman defining herself, and the industry strategy, that is the intellectual core of this whole deep dive.
And that core lets us move from the theory right into the specific case studies that made this debate so unavoidable. We can actually trace the escalation of this deliberate controversy, starting way back in 2009.
Let's start with the 2009 Teen Choice Awards, the performance of Party in the USA. The sources cite this as the definitive starting point of her rebellious days.
I remember this. At the time, this felt like an earthquake. In hindsight, the action dancing with a stripper pole that was attached to an ice cream cart, it seems relatively tame.
Especially compared to what came later.
Right. But in the context of 2009 Disney stardom, any suggestive movement was seen as a moral failure.
And the data proves the shock was immediate and it was widespread. We're not talking about a slow burn controversy.
No.
Immediately after that performance, there were over 2.75 million Google search results for Miley Cyrus and Pole. The media responded with over 1,300 published articles about that 1-2-minute routine.
Wow. So that was her first concrete demonstration that her body, her performance choices, could generate this exponential amount of attention just by deviating a little bit from the wholesome script.
She established that her body was now her tool for media disruption, but the backlash showed her the rules were strict.
That escalation was required to maintain that currency. Okay, so let's move to 2010. Her performance of Can't Be Tamed at Britain's Got Talent.
This one really ratcheted up the sexualization and the challenge to gender expectations. She's dressed in thigh-high boots, a black leather leotard, dancing very aggressively.
But the moment that really sparked the media firestorm was the interaction with a female dancer.
The big headline, the one that exposed this deeply rooted heteronormative anxiety in the media, was the suggestion of a lesbian kiss.
Yes, I remember that.
And here's the crucial detail from the sources. The simulated kiss was on screen for less than a second.
Less than a second.
Yet the media response was pure moralizing outrage. The backlash was so fierce, so instant, that Cyrus actually felt she had to apologize at the time.
What'd she say?
She said, "I promise you I did not kiss her. It is ridiculous that two entertainers can't even rock out with each other without the media making it some type of story."
And this response really highlights the analytical power of our sources, because we can connect this outrage directly back to that concept of the sexuality script.
Right. Scholars referencing the work of Adrienne Rich note this pervasive pressure, which they call heteronormative anxiety, that's placed on women in the public eye.
This anxiety dictates that female celebrities have to adhere to a very specific, approved sexuality.
One that is exclusively heterosexual, framed for the male gaze, and it must not disrupt the assumed order of things.
So the briefest suggestion of non-heterosexual behavior, even a moment of theatrical solidarity with a female dancer, was seen as a direct threat.
A threat that demanded immediate public penance and a retraction. She was probing the boundary of her agency, and she found society's hard limit.
And then she went nuclear. The 2013 VMA performance, blending We Can't Stop and Blurred Lines with Robin Thicke. This remains the single most defining, most controversial moment of her career.
It was a spectacle designed for maximum impact. It embodied everything the academic sources analyze about her strategy. The nude latex two-piece, the foam finger, the aggressive grinding against Thicke.
An image that just instantly became shorthand for celebrity provocation.
And the cultural impact was verifiable. We're talking 306,000 tweets per minute. That was far more than anything else happening online at the time, more than the Super Bowl.
The critique was immediate. Many people saw it as overtly sexualized, culturally insensitive, an act of self-objectification.
Especially when paired with the, let's say, questionable lyrics and tone of Blurred Lines.
Exactly. But years later, she consciously repositioned that entire event.
She transformed the critique into capital. Cyrus stated that the sheer magnitude of the media attention she got after the VMAs inspired her to use her platform for something much bigger.
And this is where we can see the application of Foucault's ideas about power dynamics in celebrity. Foucault suggests that power isn't just repressive, it's productive.
It creates things.
Right. By generating this immense, uncontrollable stream of public discussion and condemnation, Cyrus basically created a massive reservoir of cultural focus.
She was harnessing that power.
Right.
She said if the world was going to focus so intensely on her and what she was doing, then she decided what she was doing should be impactful and it should be great.
So she used the shock value, that initial controversial currency, to dictate what knowledge, what discourse was produced across society. It let her establish a powerful base for her future activism in art.
And that pivot from shock-driven agency to advocacy-driven visibility is perfectly illustrated in the performances that came next.
Let's look at two key examples, the 2016 appearance on Maya and Marty, and then the 2021 Pride special.
The 2016 appearance was a masterclass in using performativity for gender commentary. She performed a mashup that visually and vocally displayed gender fluidity.
She starts with Leonard Cohen's I'm Your Man, dressed in this sharp tuxedo, singing in a deep masculine register.
And then in this great moment of theatrical clarity, she rips off the trousers to reveal a leotard underneath and switches immediately to Peggy Lee's standard I'm a Woman, sung in her typical voice.
It's such a conscious, theatrical, but also simple rejection of the gender binary.
She's visually and sonically showing that she can embody both traditional male and female roles in, like, a split second. She's celebrating the diversity of gender expression.
And directly challenging that fixed, binary nature of identity that society often tries to enforce, especially on young women.
Exactly. And then by 2021, she's no longer just commenting on the binary. She is explicitly using her platform for activism with the Stand By You Pride special.
This was hosted in Nashville, a direct effort to celebrate Pride and show solidarity for the LGBTQIA+ community.
And her cover of Cher's Believe featured 6 prominent drag queens dancing in sync right beside her. I mean, what a visually powerful statement of allyship and inclusion.
The intention there was way beyond just defiance. It was about visibility and safety. She used the event to call on Nashville, sometimes conservative city, to be a welcoming and safe place for the community.
This really aligns with her work with the Happy Hippie Foundation, which she started in 2014 to help LGBTQ+ youth and address homelessness.
The shift is so clear. From questioning the societal script in 2013
to actively supporting those who reject heteronormative scripts in 2021, GLA has noted that this kind of increased visibility and representation from high-profile figures is a crucial driver in allowing more LGBTQIA+ Americans to be their authentic selves.
However, we can't just accept her self-definition as a feminist advocate without engaging with the complex and very necessary critiques that were leveled against her feminism.
Absolutely not. Particularly during those peak controversial years, this discussion has to involve intersectionality. And
Yes.
the sources use that concept.
Mm.
Simply put, it's the idea that multiple forms of disadvantage or privilege like race, class, and gender, they overlap and they compound one another.
So when we look at the criticism of Cyrus's Bangers era, critics raised very serious concerns about cultural appropriation, and there were fundamentally intersectional concerns.
The central critique was that Cyrus, as a highly privileged white woman from a wealthy background, was basically annexing working-class black ratchet culture, which involves highly sexualized and expressive dance and style.
And deploying it for her own reinvention.
Right. And the mechanism of the critique is crucial here. Critics argued that when black artists embody this culture, they are often stigmatized, criminalized, or labeled as less worthy.
But when Miley Cyrus adopted these cultural markers, including using black women in her videos and performances, sometimes, appearing as mere props.
She achieved massive commercial success and was hailed, paradoxically, as an emblem of liberation and agency.
She was accused of exploiting the powerful sexual symbolism of black female bodies to gain a patina of street cred, while her immense white privilege shielded her from the severe social consequences that black women often face for embodying that exact same culture.
It raises profound questions about the limits of feminist self-expression when that expression relies on exploiting the labor and cultural history of marginalized groups.
And this circles right back to that agency versus industry debate.
Yes. Critics strongly argue that her image was a meticulously marketed thing, designed by committees whose primary goal was not authentic self-expression.
It was commercial gain.
And the most damning evidence cited in the sources relates to the creation of the infamous Wrecking Ball video. The source material highlights that the director of that video, a 48-year-old man, was heavily involved in shaping the imagery,
Including controversial suggestions like the detail of licking the sledgehammer.
So if key elements of her overtly sexual presentation were conceived by industry professionals, regardless of whether she eventually agreed to them, it immediately raises serious questions about whose sexuality was truly being expressed.
The argument is that talking about her actions purely as expressions of her sexuality sells this illusion of intimacy and personal liberation, a dangerous but extremely effective marketing strategy.
When in reality, the primary goal was selling millions of records and managing her celebrity biography.
The financial machine was just intertwined with the feminism, blurring the lines of her true voice. But we have to acknowledge the double standard she was fighting against, one that is so central to the modern woman's struggle in the public eye: slut-shaming.
Precisely. In 2019, she publicly condemned this gender double standard. She noted that successful men who embrace highly sexual public personas are rarely slut-shamed,
Men are called legends or ladies' man.
while women are universally labeled sluts or whores for exhibiting similar behavior or just for embracing their own sexual expression.
Her defiance against those gendered expectations, regardless of the appropriation issues, reinforces that core observation. Her career is a conscious fight against the limitations placed on the woman, the actress, the singer, the wife, in the public sphere.
And that struggle brings us directly to the most commercially successful chapter of her entire career, one built entirely on the ruins of her most scrutinized relationship. Let's move into the personal context and the catalyst for Flowers.
Okay, the backstory of Miley Cyrus and Liam Hemsworth is crucial because it's just relentlessly documented by the media. After years of being on again, off again, they finally married in December 2018.
And the sources detail the brevity of the marriage. It lasted less than 8 months before the divorce was finalized in January of the following year.
The personal and psychological context of this time, it was clearly brutal, especially given how public their lives were.
Cyrus described the period after the separation in a September 2020 interview using the German phrase verdammt beschissen,
Which means damn shitty.
It's a powerful, visceral term. It conveys the raw, difficult emotional toll of that very public failure of her marriage.
But the public thrives on narrative, right? And the speculation about the cause of the split, particularly the persistent rumors of infidelity, was just intense.
And Cyrus, determined to control her own biography and her narrative as a woman, publicly rejected that speculation. She stated, very emphatically, "I refuse to admit that my marriage ended because of cheating."
So this was another conscious act of agency, just like her earlier performance provocations. She refused to let the public define her through the lens of victimization or assign blame. She chose to close the chapter on her own terms.
Which is why when Flowers was released on January 12th and 13th, 2023, the timing wasn't just intentional. It was a targeted act of high-stakes biographical control.
It dropped specifically on Liam Hemsworth's birthday.
instantly framing the song as a public, artistic, and commercially viable response to their divorce.
That framing was genius, and the lyrical content executed it perfectly. The song's core theme is defined in the sources as a spunky track about flaunting one's self-reliance and independence, no longer depending on someone else to feel complete.
It's a manifesto of the self-sufficient woman.
And the sheer strategic brilliance, or maybe the ultimate act of shade, is in the core structural relationship to another song. Publications widely suggested, and the sources confirm this, that the lyrics of Flowers were a direct paraphrase, almost rebuttal, of Bruno Mars's 2012 hit, When I Was Your Man.
And the personal connection is what makes that artistic choice so devastatingly effective. Hemsworth had reportedly dedicated Mars's song to Cyrus at some point during their relationship.
And that song is a mournful reflection where Mars regrets his failure to perform traditional romantic duties. You should have bought her flowers, held her hand, taken her dancing.
Flowers takes that entire premise and just flips it, creating this triumphant reclamation anthem. Miley declares, "I can take myself dancing, and I can hold my own hand. Yeah, I can love me better than you can."
It shifted the entire narrative from regret over a failed relationship to celebrating the self-sufficiency of the flower, the role of the woman who needs no man to validate her happiness.
But this thematic connection, it introduced a new complexity, and not just an emotional one.
It introduced legal risk.
Exactly, which the sources detail. A copyright lawsuit was filed in September 2024 by Tempo Music Investments, who own a portion of the publishing rights to the Bruno Mars song.
Now, the lawsuit alleges that Flowers includes unauthorized exploitation of When I Was Your Man. But it's crucial to understand the nuance here.
It's not Bruno Mars himself suing.
No, it's the publishing company suing based on a portion they purchased from one of the co-writers.
The legal argument centers on whether the lyrical concept and the thematic parallel constitute a derivative work that requires licensing, even if the melody is totally distinct.
And while one Billboard editor noted that similar lyrical elements don't typically require credit, legally speaking, the fact that a song about self-reliance is now embroiled in this high-stakes dispute over intellectual property ownership.
It just reinforces the incredible commercial tension surrounding any massive hit. The business of self-love turns out to be intensely complicated.
It is a fascinating twist, and it underscores that ongoing battle between personal artistic expression and the proprietary nature of commercial art. But legal issues aside for a moment, the commercial success of this track is genuinely astounding. We have to dedicate some time to analyzing the sheer juggernaut that is Flowers.
The success wasn't just big, it's a global case study that has redefined modern streaming milestones. It demonstrates the immense targeted global reach a strategically released pop single can achieve.
Okay, so let's start with the musical composition. That's the foundation of its mass appeal. It's the lead single from Endless Summer Vacation. It's classified as pop, but the influences are so rich. Strong disco, pop rock, funk elements.
The sophisticated sound production is key to its crossover success. Pitchfork described it specifically as twangy disco funk. They noted a string section that provided this sophisticated, almost flamenco-like texture.
And The Guardian went even further. They compared its smooth, shimmering electric guitar and its, understated sun-drenched tude to the seminal work of Fleetwood Mac.
Specifically their 1977 masterpiece, Rumors.
And that comparison, Rumors, is so telling. That album succeeded because it turned deeply personal, messy internal relationships into widely accessible, sophisticated pop music.
Flowers achieved a similar synthesis, turning a painful divorce into irresistible, sophisticated dance music.
And this sophisticated feel, this wasn't the initial plan, right?
Not at all. The sources reveal the composition started as a slower and sadder ballad demo, written back in January 2022. The decision to elevate it into this up-tempo, self-affirming dance track was just a brilliant piece of production strategy. It changed the whole narrative arc from melancholy regret to defiant celebration.
And the market response, consequently, was instantaneous and just overwhelming. We have to talk about the records it broke on Spotify. It shows this sustained, increasing interest, not just an initial burst.
It broke streaming records not just once, but twice, in 2 consecutive weeks. In its first full week, it generated over 96 million global streams, instantly breaking the platform's record for the most streamed song in a single week.
And here's where the story gets really interesting. The following week, the song's popularity grew. It surged to over 115 million global plays, shattering its own brand new record.
And that growth trajectory is so unique. Usually songs peak on their debut day and then decline rapidly. The popularity of Flowers actually increased day after day, driven by the narrative and its immediate ubiquity.
This momentum then translated into these unprecedented speed records.
It became the fastest song in Spotify history to surpass 1 billion streams. It achieved that milestone in just 112 days.
And it was the fastest female song to reach 2 billion streams, hitting that mark in 502 days. I mean, these are metrics that require a complete recalibration of what we thought the ceiling for a commercial pop single even was.
Its dominance was global, and it was total. It debuted at #1 on the Billboard Global 200, setting a new bar for universal appeal. And it tied Harry Styles, as it was, for the longest run atop the global US chart.
13 non-consecutive weeks at #1 there.
We are talking about dominance across cultures. Flowers topped 60 different charts across more than 40 countries. #1 positions in major markets like the UK, Germany, France, Australia.
In the UK, it held the top spot for 10 consecutive weeks.
And in the United States, it debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. That's Cyrus's second career #1 after Wrecking Ball.
It held the top spot for 8 non-consecutive weeks. But the most truly astonishing, mind-boggling feat is its longevity on the airplay charts.
This is where the cross-generational appeal becomes undeniable. Flowers became the longest-running #1 song on any Billboard airplay chart, achieving a record-breaking 57 weeks, that is over a full calendar year atop the adult contemporary chart.
Right. 57 weeks. That completely obliterates the previous record. Maroon 5's Girls Like You had it at 36 weeks.
It's not even close.
And that demographic, the adult contemporary audience, is notoriously resistant to rapid turnover. What is it about this song that allowed it to resonate so deeply with a demographic that isn't typically following streaming trends or social media hype?
That's the key question. John Zellner, the president of iHeartMedia, called it one of those songs that has stood the test of time at multiple formats. The self-reliance message is universal, sure.
But it's more than that.
It's the production, that sophisticated disco funk, that Fleetwood Mac quality. It made it palatable and enjoyable to an older, more discerning radio audience.
Yep.
It allowed it to transcend the typical pop life cycle. It became a permanent fixture, not a fleeting trend.
It accumulated the most cumulative weeks at #1 across all Billboard airplay charts, 106 weeks in total across 5 different formats.
Surpassing the record held by The Weeknd's Blinding Lights.
That speaks to a level of saturation and universal acceptance that is just so rare in modern music.
And all of this success culminated in major industry accolades. Flowers earned Cyrus her first ever Grammy wins at the 66th Annual Grammy Awards in 2024.
She took home both Record of the Year and Best Pop Solo Performance.
And the power of her presence and the song's enduring resonance was demonstrated one more time when her live Grammy performance caused yet another surge. It sent the song back into the Billboard Hot 100 Top 10 in February 2024.
Over a year after its initial release. The success is just regenerative.
And finally, the music video. It perfectly crystallized the theme of independence that was established lyrically and musically. Directed by Jacob Bixenman, it just features Cyrus dancing alone in various LA locations, a backyard, a pool, a roof.
It's all emphasizing self-care and independence.
The imagery reinforces the narrative. She's wearing a vintage gold lame gown from Yves Saint Laurent, a conscious nod to fashion history and sophistication. Later, a black suit coat. She's seen doing exercises, swimming, dancing by herself.
It's a visual confirmation of the self-sufficient woman. It connects the visual language right back to the emotional and intellectual themes of autonomy we were discussing in the theoretical section.
And in one final detail that connects the art to the commerce of celebrity branding, the video had immediate and massive commercial ripple effects. Her simple black underwear in the video generated a staggering 413% increase in online searches for black lingerie sets.
Wow. So even her self-care wardrobe choices became a commercial engine tied to that message of independence.
Incredible, isn't it?
Okay, so if we step back now and we synthesize this entire trajectory, from the tightly controlled child star to the self-proclaimed feminist provocateur, through the crucible of a public divorce, and ultimately emerging as this record-breaking symbol of self-reliance, what are the most important takeaways for the learner?
I think the arc provides a rare and really comprehensive case study in celebrity management, artistic evolution, and the ongoing messy definition of a woman's public role.
Miley Cyrus intentionally used that early controversial shock value, the deliberate rupture of societal expectations to reclaim her own biographical identity.
And to sever that umbilical cord to the Hannah Montana persona.
So the key takeaway nugget is that this transformation, regardless of the valid critiques around cultural appropriation and industry marketing, it all culminated in an unprecedented commercial victory.
She managed to take a painful, deeply personal event, the failure of her high-profile marriage, and transform it into a globally resonant, record-breaking cultural anthem centered on female self-reliance and strength.
Her career powerfully demonstrates that the critical intellectual lens from the academic sources, understanding gender performance from Butler, the production of knowledge from Foucault, social pressures from Rich, it's absolutely essential to grasping the why behind a massive pop culture phenomenon like flowers.
You have to look past the surface success and understand the complex mechanisms of celebrity power that she mastered to achieve this level of sustained success.
And we started this entire discussion by addressing that critical tension, the one between authentic personal expression and the meticulously marketed illusion of intimacy that is designed by the music industry.
And now, Flowers is not just a personal anthem. It's one of the best-selling global singles of all time. It's generating billions of streams and subscription equivalents. The financial stakes, the control, the potential profit margins. They have never been higher for her or for her label.
And this raises the final provocative question for you, the learner, to carry forward. Given the intense scrutiny and the sheer scale of the financial rewards, can an artist truly achieve ultimate creative autonomy and authentic self-expression when the stakes and the stream counts are this extraordinarily high?
What is the real price of celebrity agency in the digital age? And where does the artist's independent voice truly end and the market's insatiable demands begin?
A question that defines the modern musician's dilemma. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the evolution of Miley Cyrus.